Good morning, good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum, namaste to all. Welcome to Knowledge Management Awareness Week, day 4. Today we are going to cover one of the important topics, which is continuity of yesterday topic, which was wherever you are. Today we are going to look at what role you play and how do you build your knowledge management, how do you start your first knowledge management work. Okay. So who are you and what role do you play? The moment when we think about organization, we always think there's a management, then there's a middle management, and there's the whole operations, and the real knowledge workers who are executing, getting things done, right? But that is one dimension, which is how we kind of think, right? Actually, if you look at the kind of if you look at the roles purely from the knowledge management knowledge domain, we could always the knowledge domain plane of knowledge management is same, whether it is CEO, whether it is software manager, or functional head, right? Or whether it is student, or whether it is associate, or whether it is a farmer, even farmer. The knowledge for them, the domain knowledge for each of them is as important and very independent of each other role, right? So generally, when we talk about organization, we always think from the triangle perspective. But actually, if you look from the knowledge domain, it is always all the knowledge domains are in the same plane. When we say same plane, what knowledge a web designer needs, only he knows, right? And what knowledge a IT head is completely different. What knowledge is required for tech leads are completely different. So knowledge at every role in organizations are completely different, are not never the same. So if the knowledge, whatever we are looking at, is not same across the organization or across the roles, then my question is, why is there so much dependence on management to take care of our knowledge need? Not necessarily. Of course, when it comes to enterprise level, the management agreement on the resources, sponsorship on the charter and all becomes very important. But what the special team which I'm talking about here is from the individual knowledge management, or a common man's, or anybody knowledge worker, right? Like you and me, we're day to day, we're doing a lot of work in our organizations, whether it is in production, operations, support, research. So I'm talking about such knowledge worker who could be any knowledge worker, right? So it is important that we really look from that dimension. So who you are represents where you are, whether you are specific electrician or even a farmer, as I mentioned earlier, or whether you are management level or middle management level. So it all depends on whether you're business heads, whether you're product manager, whether you're process manager, whether you are software manager. So at the middle level, managers are important, catalyst for driving the knowledge sharing culture. However, the management of knowledge in terms of what is core needed from the perspective of knowledge assets, every role needs to work on that. I want to give a small example. Probably I want to share something. So this was an article which was published in the newsletter about 2003, almost 18-19 years now. It was about me, as I was working as part of a team. I started putting together all the knowledge assets together such a way that every information what is necessary was available within fraction of a second, right? So it became such a major important tool for the whole team. The client recognized the work. In fact, they also bought their own tool, but unfortunately, the tool which the knowledge base which was built was sustained for a very very long time, and also received appreciation mail from our CEO of the company at that time. The reason this story is very important because when we are talking about knowledge management, we always pursue knowledge management to be intensive, budget required, or we always pursue knowledge management is something out there somebody else is going to do. But I want to bring back that is the reason why this case is very important, because I can only share what has worked for me, and I want to share that every knowledge worker, whether he's student, whether he's engineer, whether he's graduate who's just moved to a new role, whether he's a seasoned professional who's working in 10 years, 15 years, end of the day, uh, whichever role they are in, they have to manage their own knowledge and also enable the team's knowledge, right? This is the core of my one of the call for actions for all the knowledge worker, right? So with this, once you know this particular story, I want to give one example. If how do you start building your own knowledge management systems? Knowledge management systems, when we say systems, generally we think about IT systems, but we forget that we as a human, we have a digestive system, respiratory system, and our solar system has solar system, right? So systems in itself is a complete system which works. And when we say knowledge management, any any system which can manage your knowledge is your knowledge management system. So for that example is this role. So let's say if you are a software engineer, some of the important thing is either there are two categories: either I'm new to the role, or I'm a seasoned lateral with a lot of experience, right? So the moment we define knowledge experience of these two individual or these two roles, then we have various knowledge assets created around them. So tomorrow, if somebody moves out of organization and somebody new person comes in, all the assets are available for him to start operating, right? So this is just a small example of how you can start managing your own team's knowledge to start with. How you can look at if you are a business unit head, the same thing applies, but your influence will be much larger, and it can really increase the organization resilience. The higher up the role you are playing, the greater the influence and greater the thought process in terms of organizational resolutions you can create. Um, so with this small story and little, use case, I think we understand how you could start managing your knowledge, uh, whichever role you are, whichever industry you are in, or whatever department or function or project you are in. So I think with all these 3, 4, 5 dimensions, you are able to see how you could, really, once you know the knowledge constraints, now you know how to really, kickstart the knowledge management systems. So going forward, we are going to talk more about a different kind of knowledge management system. What is knowledge management architecture? In most simple and concise way. I hope these videos are being helpful for the people who are listening to this. So knowledge management, again, I would say, is not something, is not a science. It is very, very simple principles. Once implemented, it involves the human psychology, it involves our cognitive abilities, it involves our sociology, it involves Team building involves conversations, systems, process. It comes a little later, but I think this is a scaffolding what we need to really look from the building knowledge management systems in every organization or functions or projects. So with this message, I want to end the session today. Thank you very much.